On December 17, 1950, while patrolling Korean airspace, a United States Air Force F-86 Sabre spotted the distinct silhouette of a Model 15 MiG below. The Sabre's pilot descended rapidly towards the target and maneuvered behind the Soviet-built aircraft. The MiG swerved to evade the American pilot's sights, momentarily appearing as if it were the Predator. However, it took only a few minutes for the American pilot to position himself for this shot, and within seconds, the struggle for air superiority over Korea, with the prestige of two opposing philosophies at stake, had begun. The history of jet-powered fighters actually dates back to before the Second World War. The first Allied jet fighter to enter service was the British Gloucester Meteor. Utilising two centrifugal flow engines, the Meteor increased fighter speeds from the previous maximum of 400 miles per hour to around 500 miles per hour. These Meteors were stationed in Europe just before the end of the Second World War. They garnered significant interest from American airmen, as the United States Air Force didn't have an equivalent jet fighter in service at that time. In fact, the Meteor saw very little combat, primarily being kept in England to prevent the new technology from falling into enemy hands. However, it proved vitally useful for shooting down the V-1 weapons fired against Britain, a role where its high speed was a significant advantage. The British fear of the Meteor falling into German hands was somewhat paradoxical, as Germany was at least a year ahead in jet design and had flown jet-powered aircraft before the war. Here, a young German pilot received some last-minute advice before his first jet flight. Undoubtedly, the Luftwaffe's most impressive success was the Messerschmitt 262. This excellent aircraft, powered by two axial flow jet engines, was actually faster than the Meteor. Additionally, it featured a successful aerodynamic shape, and later models were designed to utilize a swept wing philosophy that German engineers were developing at the time. Over 1,500 Messerschmitt 262s were built, but on Hitler's insistence, many were designated for a bomber role, a function for which the Swallow, as it was known, was not ideally suited. Eventually, and initially unofficially, the German High Command permitted the 262 to be used as a fighter. In the short time it served in this capacity, the 262's remarkable speed wreaked havoc among Allied bombers. Unfortunately for the Germans, the 262 came just too late to save the Third Reich, but it did give the Allies another insight as to the possibilities of jet development. Focusing more on improving piston engine design, America didn't begin developing jet technology until 1942. Had the war continued, the excellent Lockheed Shooting Star would have been its first combat jet. This is a photo reconnaissance version, but the basic fighter, which saw service for many years, was essentially the same. The Republic Thunderjet offered further improvements, with a slender, streamlined fuselage and more powerful jet engines. However, both the P-80 and the P-84 used a straight wing design that wasn't significantly different from the shapes employed during World War II. The North American Aviation Company initially adopted a conventional straight-wing layout for its first jet. However, they gained access to data on German swept-wing technology immediately after the war, leading them to modify the wing and tailplane positions into a swept-back format. The P-86 Sabre, as it became known, ultimately incorporated many other advanced features, such as the all-moving tailplane, automatic slats on the wing, and powered air brakes. Most importantly, its swept surfaces reduced air resistance, allowing for higher speeds. At the heart of the P-86 was a General Electric J47 jet engine, which utilized the axial flow principle, similar to that used in the earlier German Me-262, but now more sophisticated and refined. The jet concept operated on the principle of air being drawn in through the nose intake of the aircraft, then passing into an axial flow compressor area where the air is progressively compressed through 12 different stages. It's then forced into the combustion chambers where atomized fuel is injected and ignited. The resulting combustion and expansion of exhaust gases provide the necessary thrust and also drive the compressor, allowing the cycle to continue. The thrust produced by this jet engine technology was something that ground crew also had to adapt to. No-go areas were declared in front of the engine intake to prevent personnel from being sucked in, and behind the jet because of the phenomenal blast. One problem all jet engines had compared to piston aircraft was their vast fuel consumption. In the confined space of a fighter's fuselage, every square inch of available space was dedicated to fuel storage. The Sabre, like many other fighters, also employed drop tanks to provide extra kerosene. Most Sabres that went into production were equipped with 6 50mm machine guns as standard armament, mounted on each side of the heavily armoured pilot's position. Mainly due to the advantages of the swept wing at high speed, the Sabre went into production on October 16, 1947. With an initial order of 33 F-86A and 190 F-86B aircraft, which were later reclassified as F-86As. From the moment a pilot pushed the external switch to operate the powered canopy, they were stepping into a new world. Once inside, the pilot would first check the ejector seat locking pins, which couldn't be removed until shortly before taxiing to prevent accidental firing while the plane was still on the ground. They would then take stock of the staggering array of controls and instrumentation integral to the new technology. Managing a Sabre was far more complex than the stick and rudder techniques required of earlier planes. Here, 5,200 pounds of thrust had to be controlled and directed to propel what was at the time the world's fastest fighter.
George Tower, this is Air Force 184 requesting taxi clearance. Over.
Air Force 184, this is George Tower. Traffic southwest, cleared to runway 21 right.
One difference between jet-powered and piston engines is that jet engines take some time to build up the necessary thrust to get the aircraft off the ground. This was particularly true for heavier jet bombers, but even fighters needed to build up thrust before takeoff. If you look carefully at this shot, you can see the automatic leading edge flaps open, providing the pilot with more control at low speeds. In every respect, the Sabre was an aircraft for fighter pilots, and its nimbleness and agility were to prove invaluable in the years to come. During this period, the Air Force replaced the designation P for pursuit with the more fitting F for fighter, renaming the Sabre the F-86. Throughout the late 1940s and early 1950s, the Air Force showcased the Sabre's performance in numerous public displays. These demonstrations often featured up to 80 aircraft flying in intricate formations, showcasing their aerial skills. The breaking of the sound barrier was still a novelty, and although by then it was a routine for the pilots, at these airshows it was a highlight of the day for the crowds. Public confidence in American air power became crucial in 1949 when the Soviets demonstrated a formidable capability. They had replicated the American B-29 long-range bombers, capable of reaching the US on one-way missions. Moreover, they successfully detonated an atomic bomb, ending America's nuclear monopoly. This, alongside deteriorating US-Soviet relations, sparked significant concern. To counter potential Russian threats, production of the Sabre was ramped up, and an all-weather variant was developed, the F-86D Sabre Dog. This aircraft featured a sophisticated radar scanner mounted over the nose to detect enemy bombers in all-weather conditions, including at night. It also carried a rack of unguided rockets in the fuselage, deemed more effective for engaging attacking Russian bombers. When conflict erupted, it unfolded in a distant land. North Korean troops invaded South Korea, prompting the United Nations to intervene, and US B-29s were swiftly deployed to the region to target northern factories and communications. Despite not being ideally suited for this role, the B-29s effectively carried out their missions, securing US dominance of the skies over Korea. However, on November 1, 1950, American pilots were surprised to encounter the first Russian-built MiG-15s. These aircraft represented a significant technological leap beyond what the Soviets were previously believed to possess. Even with their defensive armament, B-29s stood little chance against these advanced Soviet fighters. In response to this new threat, the Pentagon ordered F-86s to be deployed to Korea, marking the beginning of the intense MiG versus Sabre aerial combat.
The first 4 flights into the area will stay below the contrails and keep a close watch on the fighter bombers. The last 2 flights will go above the contrails and check very closely for any MiG aircraft that might come in above the cons. Now, if you see MiGs up there today, call them out. Give their altitude, direction, and geographical location on the map. And call it out and then get off the radio. Now remember, once you look around, keep your speed up, and if you do get a bounce, cut him off, and drive in range. When you get in range, shoot, and when you shoot to kill. Anybody got any questions? Okay, let's go get them.
Typically, Sabre forces operated in groups of 4 aircraft.
Tiger lead, Tiger 2 here. I got a couple bogeys out there with 1 coming around at 2 level. Roger, boy, I got him. Going down. You got him? All right, boy, that's a good deal. Watch it. We got 4 of them coming in here on us at 7 o'clock. Hang on. We got 2 down here more at 3 o'clock position. I haven't done it, go ahead, take it, and I'll cover you. All right, I'm going in now. Okay, you're clear. Go ahead, go ahead. I'm clear. We're going to start firing now. You're still clear. All right, look at him chips off of him. Okay, he's down, boy. You got him too.
By 1952, American pilots had engaged MiG-15s in numerous successful sorties. Similar to the dynamics of the Second World War, a group of elite aces emerged, men who demonstrated exceptional skill and determination in combat with their fighters. One of these American aces was Colonel Gabreski. Gabreski arrived in Korea already decorated as an ace, having flown Thunderbolts during World War II, but he further cemented his reputation as a MiG killer. The skill and experience of American pilots were crucial, considering that the MiG-15 itself was a formidable aircraft. While MiG kills outnumbered Sabre losses, the MiG-15 was undeniably a brilliant aircraft and, in several aspects, superior to the Sabre. Due to the MiG-15's impressive performance, the Air Force was eager to acquire one to study its design and capabilities, and in the later stages of the conflict, dropped leaflets over enemy territory offering enemy pilots $100,000 if they defected with their plane to the south. One pilot, Lieutenant Rowe, accepted the offer, and it must have been a surprising sight for the ground crew at Kimpo on September 21, 1953, when a MiG-15 landed. The aircraft was soon in the hands of American pilots, eager to fly and evaluate the MiG for themselves. One of the standout features of the MiG-15 was its armament, a combination of one 37mm and two 23mm cannon mounted in a compact, removable unit. This setup allowed for quick replacement by ground crew, enabling rapid turnaround times for the aircraft. The borrowed MiG, equipped with ammunition, provided an opportunity to test its firepower. Aircraft equipped with heavy cannon typically have a slower rate of fire compared to the 6 machine guns on the Sabre, but they deliver significantly greater hitting power. The MiG's armament prompted the US to develop a configuration for the Sabre, featuring 4 20mm cannon, replacing the original 6 50mm machine guns. Despite arriving late in the Korean conflict, the cannon-equipped Sabre achieved several MiG kills. However, for most of the campaign, it was the Sabre's machine guns, known for their high rate of fire, that brought down the majority of the MiGs. Pilots were trained to approach the enemy not directly from behind, but slightly from the side, as this angle presented a larger fuselage surface to target. Despite the Sabre's superior design and firepower, the F-86s faced formidable challenges. Nevertheless, the original Sabre design's excellence and its robust airframe proved crucial. Many aircraft returned home with significant damage, yet were still airworthy, a testament to the Sabre's durability and the skill of its pilots. The Sabre's heavy armor for pilots played a crucial role in saving many lives during the Korean conflict. As the Korean conflict progressed, American aces were redeployed to train new pilots in combat techniques specific to the F-86. This approach, where experienced pilots passed on their skills to younger aviators, was a pivotal part of the American strategy that ultimately prevailed in the Korean air conflict. Given the MiG-15's comparable overall capability to the Sabre, the skill of the pilots was often the deciding factor in engagements. Had the MiG been in the hands of better trained pilots, the outcome of the conflict might have been very different. It was the greater competence and better training of the American pilots with their consequent greater skill that was the real margin between the two planes. Preparing for flight was a complex and weighty process for the pilot. They would have to don a heavy flight suit, along with a lined vest, and carry the obligatory .45 automatic. Additionally, they had to don a Mae West life preserver, an essential parachute, and a survival kit containing various items from a rubber raft to a homing beacon. By the time they settled into the Sabre cockpit, complete with helmet and oxygen mask, they likely felt deeply integrated with the aircraft. This connection between pilot and machine was not just symbolic, but also essential to the effectiveness of US fighters during the Korean campaign. The Sabre's design allowed for significant versatility in its role. Originally an interceptor, it could also be configured to carry air-to-ground rockets or bombs when necessary. The Sabre's design versatility made it well suited for roles beyond interception. Although it was seldom used in interdiction missions during the Korean War, other countries in different theaters employed the F-86 very effectively as a ground attack aircraft. In the mid-1950s, just after the Korean conflict, the US developed air-to-air homing missiles like the innovative Sidewinder. These missiles were integrated onto Sabres to enhance their interception capabilities. In this scenario, a standard 5-inch unguided rocket is fired from one side of an F-86 to serve as a test target for the Sidewinder missile fired from the other side. The Sabre's production extended beyond the United States, with manufacturing in Canada and Australia and assembly in Italy and Japan. However, one of the most intriguing developments occurred in Australia. The Royal Australian Air Force sought an enhanced version of the Sabre, leading to a comprehensive redesign by the Commonwealth Aircraft Factory. They strengthened and lengthened the fuselage to accommodate the Avon engine, also used in their Canberra bombers. This engine provided 50% more thrust than the early Sabre engines, although integrating it posed significant challenges. The Australian Sabre emerged as the most powerful variant produced. While its maximum speed wasn't significantly higher than the American version, it boasted P on the side of this plane is the standard Commonwealth symbol for prototype, similar to the Y used by American aircraft. Australia produced 112 Avon-powered Sabres, some of which were transferred to the Indonesian Air Force as they were replaced by the French Mirage. By the early 1960s, the Sabre, still in service with many nations, was beginning to show its age. While the addition of Sidewinder missiles bolstered its effectiveness as an interceptor, no aircraft, even the renowned F-86, could remain in the front line indefinitely. Moreover, North American Aviation had introduced a successor in the form of the F-100 Super Sabre. Larger and capable of speeds up to 1,000 miles per hour, the F-100 Super Sabre marked the beginning of the famed Century series of American fighter aircraft. In the early 1960s, the Sabres were gradually phased out and reassigned to roles within the Home Guard. Here, a pilot inspects an F-86 Sabre that has been relegated to Home Guard duties. Once again, the synergy between pilot and aircraft proves to be highly effective, even in this new capacity. The skills and experience of a combat veteran are invaluable to the nation, and so is the enduring value of the investment in a well-built and long-serving aircraft like the F-86 Sabre. Even after its retirement from frontline service, the Sabre continued to serve a vital role in the hands of skilled and dedicated aircrew within the Home Guard, providing a robust second line of defense. In the United States, the F-86 remained operational with National Guard squadrons well into the 1970s, and it continues to be flown by air forces in various countries around the world. The design, originating in the 1940s, has proven exceptionally durable, not only because of the Sabre's solid construction, but also because it consistently fulfilled its mission requirements.
All of these accidents occurred within USAFE. There are minor accidents and major accidents. Some leave the aircraft in one piece, some in pieces. Others just leave a hole in the ground. You can have accidents in any kind of aircraft. Almost $17 million. That was the cost of major aircraft accidents in USAFE alone during a single year. That $17 million represents only the cost of the aircraft after deducting depreciation, and does not include the bills for personal injuries and property damage. Lives? Who can calculate them in dollars? More than 58% of all aircraft accidents in USAFE are attributed to pilot error. The truth is that you, the pilot, can create or fail to prevent a situation that can cost your life. Flying safety records indicate that the fellows who wind up on the Forms 14 are not always the victims of a single drastic mistake. More often than not, the cause is an accumulation of seemingly minor errors. Most of you pilots are good at your jobs. You've had the best training, you've got good equipment, but it's the little things that catch you. Just like they almost caught this pilot. Like a lot of other pilots, he thought that flying safety was personal, just between him and his plane. He slept through flying safety talks, or he let his mind drift. But he was converted. He became a believer, but fast.
Yeah, I buy it now, but my Frau almost collected on that fat insurance policy before I saw the light. It happened on one of those routine boondoggles. Yesterday I flew down here to Alpha from Bravo Air Base in RON.
Hey, Pop, morning.
Should have left here a few hours ago, but I was partying last night and... Yeah, you know how that goes. A little oxygen will knock this in the head.
Don't kid me, that was you at the wall.
Oh, no, it wasn't, boy.
Morning, sir.
Now, you got a clearance form?
Going on a jet flight?
Yeah.
Here you are.
Thanks a lot.
Want a local map?
Well, okay. Paperwork. Reams of it. 16 copies to the devil himself, with an info copy to every head shrinker in the puzzle palace. All this junk for a simple little flight. There's no sweat on this one. I can do it standing on my head. Well, like they say, you can't fight City Hall. Frequencies. Yeah, I know what Bravo Beacon is. Well, now to get my weather. Yeah, I better check the NOTAMs first. Boy. I just left Bravo yesterday. Nothing could have changed in that time. Now, let's see. Everything seems to be okay here. Cold front moving down.
Hi there. May I help you, sir?
No, thanks. I've been checking my own weather for years.
Well, okay.
That's all I'd need. A lecture on climatology. Now, Bravo is still VFR. I'm okay. Well, the old dog's in good shape. Everything checks out okay. I have a full service job, except for the oxygen supply, but that's just what I asked for. I'll have enough for this hop even after I take care of that hangover. Gotta report that lousy cabin pressure seal.
Thanks.
Yeah, plenty of fuel, full internal load, and 50 gallons in each drop. The contest is ready to start. Off of that hangover. Something knocked the edge off it. I'll let it ride at 100% while I taxi.
Wind 9 Alpha, clear for takeoff, winds 260 degrees at 14, over.
Roger, rolling.
Wind 9 Alpha, airborne at 16, clear tower, frequency over.
Roger, tower, out.
Yeah, this is great. Feel a lot better now. Hangover's gone. Everything's in the green. Altitude Angels 30, heading 030. Yeah, everything's right on the money. Approaching the control zone now. Looks like a little weather up ahead. Better give a position check to ground control.
Railroad, this is Air Force Jet 24129.
Air Force 24129, this is Railroad.
Over Buckshot at 1215, 30,000. Victor Fox, Alpha to Bravo. Estimating Bravo at 40 past the hour.
Roger, 129, out.
Yeah, what's wrong with me? Must be that hangover again. Toot, forgot the blasted oxygen. I gotta get this frapping thing off. Get on in a hurry. It's better. Nice, thick air. What a stupid move. Should have remembered to turn off that 100%. Oh, well, it's over. I'm okay now. Gotta watch that fuel, though. This can is really gulping it down at this altitude. I better tune in the bird dog about now. Now, let's see. Bravo beacon is 327. Whoops. Can't take much of that. Hangover's back. Now, that's better. You must be off a little. I don't know why I had to make a right drift correction. Must be a pretty strong crosswind. I better get a steer. A practice steer, that's all I need.
Bravo, DF from 24129. Request practice steer to base. Roger, 24129. Steer to base with 0 winds is 090 degrees.
090. Well, there must be some mistake. I have your beacon right on the nose, and you give me a steer of 090.
Request you check that steer.
Roger, 129er.
Transmit for another steer. Roger, 129er. We have a class Alpha steer. Your last transmission indicates. So your steer is 092 degrees magnetic. Over.
But how can that be? I'm bird dog right on the money at 327 KCs. Must have made a mistake.
0129, for your information, Bravo beacon has been changed from 327 KCs to 205 KCs. The notification of this change was distributed yesterday in all bases in a nodal. You must have 326 KCs. The frequency from Medora Beacon, 60 miles northwest of Bravo.
Notams. Roger, Bravo Control.
0129, your last transmission indicates your steer is now 095.
By the way, what's your current weather?
0129 at the latest sequence time, 1200 Zebra. Bravo Air Base, 200 feet, 4/10. Light rain, wind 070 degrees at 4 knots. Altimeter 2997.
Roger. The weather sure pitched me a curve. They had the front 50 miles north of Bravo. Unless I was looking at an old weather map, I should have read the sequences. Wouldn't have taken long.
Bravo Tower from 129. What are the GCA minimums for your base?
0129, GCA minimums for Bravo are 301 mile.
Well, I can't hack that. It's below minimums. What's the nearest alternate?
0129, closest alternate is Cocoa Air Base. Their last report was 4,000 broken at 5 miles.
Roger, we'll proceed to Cocoa. Will you make a check on the current weather there? That's about 40 miles from my present position. I don't have much fuel left.
Roger, 129er.
Things are beginning to pile up on me. First the oxygen runs out, and then Bravo's socked in. Now it'll be tight on fuel to Cocoa. I sure bought myself a lot of trouble. If I just had some oxygen, I could have stayed at altitude and cut down my fuel consumption.
Air Force 129, this is Bravo Tower.
Go ahead, Bravo.
Cocoa reports weather unchanged. 4,000 broken at 5 miles.
Roger. I better get under this cotton-picking stuff while I can. There's Cocoa.
Cocoa Tower from Air Force 24129er.
MPFR have field in sight. Request landing instructions. I have 450 pounds.
Roger, 129, land runway 26, call on the break.
Roger.
Tower, this is 129, going around. Can't get my gear down.
Roger, 129, check on the brake again.
Come on, you. Make with the wheels.
Tower, looks like I have 1 down and 2 up.
We have the glasses on you. Your main gear still appears to be up.
Roger, switch to 138.6 for GCA.
Crash, we have an 86 number 24129er in the pattern. He's at minimum fuel and
Can't get his gear down. Landing runway 26.
I'm gonna fall down if I don't get this can in soon. It's gonna be close.
129, this is Caravan. Try your emergency gear system.
I already tried it.
Did you pull it full out?
Tower, gear down, final.
Well, no business today. He made it.
129, clear for a right turn off, taxi to hide stand south side.
Well, that contest is over. Tower, this 129. I'm flamed out. Request a tow.
Roger. Let's go, boy. We gotta pick up a cold one.
Now, some of you may be thinking that this pilot should have augured in. Some of you may be saying, well, this is a motion picture. These things just don't happen in real life. Things like excessive drinking, lack of sleep before a flight, failure to check the NOTAMs, not knowing that the frequency of the destination had been changed, miscalculation of the weather, not listening to the weather officer, and not checking the sequences, not remembering to conserve the oxygen supply when there's a faulty cabin pressure seal, improper operation of the emergency gear system. Yes, you're right. This pilot probably would have clobbered. But you're wrong if you think these mistakes just don't happen. They have happened, time and time again. And when errors of this nature pile up on you, they comprise a lethal weapon. Through the magic of the motion picture, this pilot survived. But how about you? In your flying, do you depend upon magic, luck, or safe flying?
In January 1963, the Air Force initiated tactical weapons effects tests on realistic limited war targets. The high-performance aircraft were typical of those assigned to tactical strike forces. Forces which are ready to act immediately in potential limited war situations. During the weapons effects test, they attacked difficult air and ground targets flying at high speed to ensure their survival over well-defended battle areas. More than 20 target complexes were chosen or constructed to simulate the range of ground targets likely to be encountered in limited war anywhere in the world. Included was a simulated anti-aircraft missile site, patterned after those of Soviet design that were photographed in Cuba. Part of the test criteria was high-speed reconnaissance location of individual targets. Delivery time of developed negatives and blow-up prints for photo interpretation was comparable to operational pre-strike missions. Prints were delivered to simulated Air Force Army command elements in between 1 hour and 40 minutes and 2 hours. Test missions against aircraft and air support targets began early in January. First test for the F-105 Thunder Chief and its high-speed 20mm Gatling gun was made against a radio-controlled jet fighter. High explosive and armor-piercing incendiaries destroyed the fighter. The F-100 Super Sabre was tested against a low-speed air target at 800 feet altitude. The attack aircraft destroyed a 13-foot radio-controlled simulated light plane flying at 180 miles an hour. With the jet fighter target, maximum range low-altitude tests of the Sidewinder missile were performed by the F-104 Starfighter. Evaluation of the Thunder Chief as a high-speed napalm delivery vehicle was made against parked jet aircraft at a simulated forward area field. Test for strafing damage against parked jet aircraft was made with the F-104's Gatling gun. The F-105 was used to evaluate the high-velocity 5-inch Zuni rocket against typical airstrip targets. Napalm was tested for the first time against missile site-type guidance control vans, F-100s in low-level, high-speed attack. Against the simulated anti-aircraft missiles, Super Sabres tested the effectiveness of 20mm high-explosive incendiaries. .75-inch rockets with high-explosive heads were tested against a maintenance tent area, fired from a Super Sabre. The rocket's dispersal pattern provided lethal shrapnel damage and fire throughout work areas. A larger tent area where supplies would be stored in field conditions was attacked with napalm. High-speed F-84F Thunderstreaks accomplished this evaluation. High speed was an important criteria in the tests to assure aircraft survivability over presumably well-defended targets. A test for pilot skill and guidance accuracy with the bullpup missile was conducted from a Super Sabre. Target was a concrete bunker. The instantaneous fused missile was launched at a slant range of 3.6 miles. The 250-pound warhead exploded on contact 25 feet from the aiming point. Results indicated that delayed action fusing is more effective for this type target. A command post bunker with 3-foot concrete walls was used to evaluate the Zuni rocket. F-100s were loaded with 8 Zunis, equipped with penetrating heads. Direct hits were scored at slant ranges of 3,700 to 4,000 feet. In the next scene, a flat-nosed bomb with a delayed fuse bounces off a wall, and an F-105 makes a follow-up attack on the command post. This test was successful. Earlier test runs with too shallow an angle of attack caused the bombs to skip over the target. Close-in ground support attacks on mortar positions were initiated by the F-104. 2.75 high-explosive rockets. Coverage was good. Damage included shrapnel hits on all test mannequins. Follow-up tests on other mortars used 2 F-84s releasing 3,000 pounds of napalm. Starfighters with 2.75 rockets made attacks on an artillery piece. Mixed loads were carried by 3 aircraft. Half high-explosive heads, half high-explosive anti-tank heads. One of the rockets knocked out the 90mm gun. Other hits were lethal for gun crews. A typical fuel dump was the test target for Gatling gun incendiaries fired by F-104s. Firing altitude was 800 feet. Bombing capability of the Thunder Chief was evaluated against large area targets. The weapons load was 16 750-pound bombs for each airplane. A typical military convoy group was the target for effects testing of the F-105's Gatling gun. The effectiveness of high-performance aircraft against a low-flying helicopter was tested using a radio-controlled H-43A as a target. Attack speed was 460 miles per hour. One burst of 20mm incendiaries from the F-105 the helicopter. The target to test the kill capability of the Bullpup missile was a heavily armored tank. Bullpup was launched by an F-100 from a distance of 2.5 miles. The tank was knocked out by a direct hit that pierced the top of the turret. The hatch cover and other parts were found up to 200 feet away from the burning tank. The effectiveness test of napalm against convoy targets was carried out by 4 starfighters. Delivery was low and fast. The drop was a split-second length. Destruction was limited to the forward part of the convoy. A jungle-style target used in the test was this four-section pontoon bridge designed to support 2.5-ton trucks. A B-26 of the type used in areas like Vietnam made the attack with 2.75 rockets. F-104s conducted an effectiveness test of napalm against tank targets. Test equipment inside one of the tanks showed severe heat damage. The effect of 2.75 rockets on a 105mm howitzer comprised the next test. Launching aircraft was the F-100D. Coming up next, a target-mounted camera shows the rocket pattern. The weapon and its self-propelled vehicle were crippled by the attack. A varied array of landing craft in anchored and beached positions were the test targets for combined attacks by fighters. Closely resembling combat tactics because of the number of aircraft involved, this series of attacks employed 20mm cannon, as well as Zuni and 2.75 rockets. Target area was particularly well adapted for recording the pattern spread of rocket attacks. The barges were aground in shallow water, permitting extensive documentation of all types of damage. Operating with weapons of great destructive power is inherently dangerous. A case in point was this rail cut mission. Armament was 4 flat-nosed bombs with delay fuses. The 14-second delay allows the plane to clear the target before the bombs explode. The attacking F-105 was accompanied by an F-100F chase aircraft. One bomb exploded instantaneously. Fragments hit both aircraft. A tracking mount on the ground picked up the chase aircraft, the more critically damaged of the two. Both men aboard the plane ejected successfully. Several miles away, the F-105 pilot also had to bail out. His controls locked and his aircraft shedding pieces. All men survived with minor injuries. A test attack against immobile train targets was carried out by F-100s and F-104s. The first weapon was the bullpup guided missile. .75 rockets with high explosive anti-tank hit. A strafing attack with armor-piercing and high explosive incendiaries. Concurrent with weapons effects tests, the Air Force conducted tactical evaluations of its troop and cargo carriers. The YC-123H, grossing out at 62,000 pounds, landed 100 feet short and stopped in just over 950 feet. In addition to conventional engines, the 123H has two jet engines to shorten takeoff distance. Computed payload for the test was 20,000 pounds. This experimental aircraft has a beefed up and widened landing gear. Unloaded, the 123H was able to take off in 750 feet. Tests were conducted with an unfavorable 15-knot quartering tailwind. The technique of heavy cargo extraction was tested with the long-range C-130B Hercules. The aircraft does not land. Cargo, a 5,900-pound weapons carrier. Short field assault capability of the C-130B was tested on a soft clay strip. Grossing 119,000 pounds, the aircraft stopped in 1,050 feet. Touchdown was at the 100-foot mark, and stop was at the 1,150-foot mark. Taking off at the same weight, the C-130 used the additional thrust of 8 rocket motors to break ground in 650 feet. Range of the C-130 with a typical load of 64 fully equipped airborne troops is 3,600 statute miles. Further tests showed that after unloading, the aircraft could take off within 500 feet. As in combat, not all attacks were successful. There were misses as well as hits, and some weapon malfunction. The test revealed areas where additional research and development is required to improve certain weapons and develop new capabilities. Invaluable training was accorded all test personnel, and the main purpose of the test was successfully accomplished. Data was gathered on the effects of specific weapons striking specific targets, all leading to increased tactical air combat capability. Here in review are some of the highlights of the test documentation. Guns. Rockets. Flat-nose bombs. 750s. Missiles. Napalm.
Aviation, the art of aeronautics, began with the dreamers, inventors, and daredevils who dared to defy gravity. The journey of aviation was nurtured by pioneers like the Wright brothers, whose first flight marked a historic milestone. The role of aircrafts in world wars was groundbreaking, dramatically changing warfare strategies. This initiated a technological evolution in aviation, transforming the simplistic wings of a biplane into the thunderous roar of jet engines. Let's journey through the ages of aviation. Behind every great aircraft, there were great minds. These visionaries, like Sir Frank Whittle, the innovator of the turbojet engine, redefined air travel. Then there's Skunk Works' Kelly Johnson, the genius behind the SR-71 Blackbird. His designs combined speed, stealth and power, crafting machines that dominated the heavens. The contributions of these pioneers have left an indelible mark on the canvas of aviation, shaping the course of history and inspiring generations of engineers and aviators. Each epoch in aviation history gave birth to extraordinary aircrafts, each with their own unique features and roles. The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird was a marvel of speed and stealth. The F-105 Thunderchief, a supersonic fighter bomber, was vital in the Vietnam War. The P-51 Mustang, a long-range fighter, was critical in World War II. The P-47 Thunderbolt, a heavyweight fighter, was used extensively in the same war. The A-10 Thunderbolt II, the Warthog, is a close air support icon. The Messerschmitt Me 262 marked a leap forward in aviation technology. Each of these game changers were instrumental in their eras, and their legacies still resonate today. Beyond the game changers, there are those that have transcended their practical roles to become icons. The Concorde was not just an aircraft, it was a supersonic symbol of luxury and speed. The B-52 Stratofortress, a strategic bomber, is an icon of power and resilience. These magnificent machines and others like them have become much more than just aircrafts. They are enduring icons that encapsulate the audacious spirit, the relentless innovation, and the boundless ambition that define the world of aviation. For more amazing aerial footage, and to join us in this incredible journey, check out the DroneScapes YouTube channel.
If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.